Okay. Thank you so much. We'll recite the Ye Dharma mantra. Again, this should be seen as a reminder for us with the meanings reflected and whatever experience one has to invoke the experience to the best we can. Let's say this together while visualizing all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the space in front of you and your two parents and all your family members, including children and all the sentient beings around you. And you're inspiring them to join you in this. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham tathagato hyavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham tathagato hyavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato hyavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes as well is taught by the great seer. Okay, now continuation from where we left this morning, the first session. It is the selfless screen sharing. Selflessness of phenomena in relation to close placement of mindfulness of phenomena. Okay. So this says pertaining to the emptiness or the selflessness of the phenomena other than the first three. The first three meaning the body, the feeling, and the mind. It's just two lines. It says a truly existent arising of any phenomena cannot be determined, meaning that any phenomena, more precisely, the phenomena other than the first three indicated, these, when subjected to ultimate analysis, the manner in which we did with the self, with the flower, and so forth, we see that nothing can be found objectively. A truly existent or objectively existent arising of any phenomena or objectively existent, the phenomena cannot be determined, cannot be seen. That's rejecting the objection that the two truths are untenable. So this concept of true truth, this is, yes, on the one hand, is something so unique of what the Buddha presented in Heart Sutra, when the Buddha said, form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form, and form is also not other than emptiness. So there, the Buddha taught the two truths. And the two truths in the Buddhist 10 systems, we see that all the four Buddhist schools talk of two truths. And not only the Buddhist schools, even the non-Buddhist schools, contemporary to the Buddha's time, and also in the Western philosophy, for example, David Hume. I read his the philosophy, the book, Inquiry. When I read it, the concept of the two truths, the way presented in the Madhyamika philosophy, very similar as what you can find there. And in the non-Buddhist traditions in India, in the olden times, like what we're going to read more from here, like Samkhya, Vaisheshik, and the Nyaya, and so forth, they also present two truths. But the two truths, when identifying what the two truths are, the conventional truth, ultimate truth, what constitutes ultimate truth, then the answers differ. between what the Buddha taught and what the other philosophical traditions taught. And for us, finally, the point is not about the tradition, is about the, say, what's the reality? And that's the point. So with this in mind, the stanza 106, the non-Buddhist traditions, or within Buddhism also, within Buddhism, not only the non-Buddhists, even the Buddhists like Vaibhashika, Sautrantika, Chittamatra, and then within Madhyamika, Savatantrika Madhyamika, except for the Prasangika, which is the highest Buddhist school, except for the school, the rest of the schools, for them, when we say emptiness of objective existence, for them it is like nothing exists. In other words, for them, existence and objective existence, these two are synonymous. Let's not forget it. For all the Buddhist schools except Prasangika, existence and objective existence, intrinsic existence, inherent existence, they all mean the same. So when you say things exist, in their mind, it means that things exist intrinsically, things exist objectively. This says what comes to the mind. Now, when Prasangika says, when Bodhisattva Shanideva, on behalf of Prasangika, says that nothing exists objectively, means for them nothing exists. There's nihilism in the minds of the non-Prasangika philosophers, be it Buddhists or non-Buddhists. The no objective existence means nothing exists. Nothing exists means nihilism. In other words, they think that Prasangika is nihilist. And not only they, even nowadays, many philosophical traditions, be it Asian or be it Western philosophical traditions, they believe that Nagarjuna's philosophy is nihilistic or idealistic. And in true sense, this is a clear indication of they failing to understand the Nagarjuna's philosophy well. This is a problem. So anybody who understands the Nagarjuna's philosophy well, we see that you just experience the safe heaven of the philosophy, meaning that when you experience the experience or understand emptiness presented by Nagarjuna, we see that all the conventionalities can be resolved very easily without any problem. Okay, so now 106 is from the point of view of the advocates of objective existence and intrinsic existence. What they say is that if, as you say, things don't exist objectively, you are saying nothing exists. Nothing exists means there's no conventional truth. If there's no conventional truth, then the ultimate truth cannot be posited. Because to speak about the flower, if there's no flower, you cannot speak about the emptiness of the flower. If there's no flower, you cannot speak about the ultimate truth of the flower. So if the conventional truth is not there, you cannot posit the ultimate truth. So the two truths cannot be posited. This is a rejection the advocates of objective existence pose to Bodhisattva Shanideva. Stanza 106. Suppose you object, but if it were the case that conventional truth does not exist at all, meaning if the conventional truth does not exist objectively, then they should not exist. If they don't exist, then how can they be two truths? It's only one ultimate truth. And on top of that, if it cannot posit the conventional truth, then the ultimate truth makes no sense. So two truths altogether becomes meaningless. Then how can they be two truths? Moreover, if conventionalities arise by means of other power meaning, say, according to, say, okay, anybody who likes to share with us as to how do conventional things exist from the point of view of Bodhisattva Shanideva or Nagarjuna? Anybody? How to the, okay, Milinji?
Geshe, dependent arising through.
Okay, dependent on what?
Causes and conditions.
Okay, causes and conditions. This even the other schools also say, right? Like the say the many of the non-Buddhist traditions, even the Buddhist tradition, Vaibhashika, South Chandika, Chittamato, they all say that the things like the flower, the person, things they exist by dependence on the causes and conditions. Okay, anybody else? Okay, Shahala.
Conventional truth is that which is exists merely by mere imputation or designation of the conventional mind.
Through a mere mental imputation or mere mental designation. Okay, good. Thank you, Shahala. So one thing that we present Prasangika's philosophy is that everything exists by mere mental imputation. This is something which, except for Prasangika, other schools cannot posit. There are other schools, be it Buddhist or non-Buddhist, except for Prasangika, they cannot posit that things exist through mere mental imputation or mere mental designation. Now, for them, for the advocates of objective existence, if something exists through mere mental designation, in their mind, it is like saying that everything exists as imagination. Then everything becomes like imaginary. Okay, so it says that moreover, if conventionalities arise by means of other power meaning the power of the mere imagination, other power meaning by the deceptive mind or the mere imagination. Let's say that, okay, I am the, let's say that let's say I'm a piece of chocolate, which means I'm hallucinating. I'm not a chocolate. So this is a deceptive mind. This is just a mere imagination. Then in the minds of the advocates of objective existence, it is they understand the Prasangika's view, the way Shahala said, as like saying everything exists through imagination, through mental imputation, through mere imagination. If there's mere imagination, then they say I'm not a chocolate, but I can imagine myself as a chocolate. This says if this is how things exist, then you should accept nothing exists, because imaginations, they don't really exist. Then how can sentient beings, okay, moreover, if conventionalities arise by means of other power meaning by the power of imagination, if this is how things exist, then things don't exist in reality. Then the sentient beings, then you cannot posit nirvana. Then you cannot posit the transcendence of sorrow. If you cannot posit the transcendence of sorrow, then the sentient beings can never reach that level. How can sentient beings transcend sorrow? Because transcendence of sorrow is not possible. 107. Now, okay, how would you respond to this question? If I'm the advocate of objective existence and you are following Bodhisattva Shantideva, so you said that nothing exists objectively, everything exists through mental imputation, mere mental designation, mental imputation. Then I say that, okay, which means that even the transcendence of sorrow, nirvana, even that is also mere mental designation. You will say yes. If that is the case, then the nirvana should be imagination. If that's the case, nirvana should be non-existent. If that is the case, then no sentient being can achieve nirvana. Oh yeah, how would you respond to this? Anybody? Okay, Yakila.
Well, I would say that conventionally, if you don't analyze it and if you don't investigate it.
Yakila, keep in mind that once you give the answer, then I'm the defender of the advocates of objective existence. So I'll try to come up with a counter debate.
Well, it's a little bit unfair that you're Geshe and I'm not a Geshe. You'll probably win, but I'll try anyway.
Okay, continue.
No, I'll try anyway. So I would say that.
Yes. And the defenders of Bodhisattva Shantideva's philosophy should not be scared.
All right. So I would say that if you don't analyze and investigate, if you don't look for it as to check if it exists ultimately or not, if you leave it in conventional level, then nirvana is still possible. So first of all, it is common in the world. it is common conventional in the world, but also it is not negated by another conventional valid cognition. So and if it is not contradicted by another conventional valid cognition, then it exists.
Okay, so what you're saying is that something should be accepted by the conventions, number one. Then number two, not rejected by the another convention. Is what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. So let's say that the objective existence, this is accepted by the conventions. Ordinary people, they all accept objective existence, and then on the it is not objected by any other conventions, right?
It is. Objective existence is negated by other conventional valid, by a valid cognition that, actually I should have added also that it is contradicted by a valid cognition, an ultimate valid cognition. So if it is also contradicted by ultimate valid cognition, it means that objective existence does not exist.
Okay, so that is not accepted. That it should not be the contradicted by a other conventional the analysis as well as the ultimate analysis. Is what I'm saying? Okay.
More or less.
Not complete.
Well, no, I guess that complete. Full stop.
Okay, good. Thank you. So the point is that then it becomes like imaginary. Nirvana becomes like imaginary if it is mere mental destination. So the Yakila is responding that it's not imaginary, it is mere mental destination. The way Shala said, it is mere mental destination. Within what is merely mental destination, there are two. One, where the functionality operates infallibly, and number two, where is imaginary. There are two kinds. For example, I'm a chocolate. This is pure imaginary. It is pure mental destination plus imaginary. And then I'm a human being. This is a purely mental destination, but not imaginary. There's a difference there. Then the next is, then how can you say that you're a human being? How can you evaluate this? So then Yakila said that it should fulfill three criteria. So this is what you find in Lama Tsongkhapa's commentary. Not really commentary, it is his own original work, known as the Great Treatise on the Stages of Path of Enlightenment. It has 3 volumes in English. And third volume, it said that to evaluate if something exists, we can evaluate that with the help of there are 3 conditions. The first one is that this object must be accepted as conventionally accepted. Accepted doesn't mean that it should exist. For example, objective existence. Objective existence is accepted in the conventional sense. All the sentient, almost like all the ordinary beings, we believe things as objective real. So that is how conventionally the ordinary beings, they accept it. But second condition is that it should not be contradicted by the conventional valid cognition. Valid cognition analyzing the conventions. Third is that it should not be contradicted by the valid cognition analyzing the ultimate. Okay, 3 things. 1, the object or that thing in the question mark should be accepted in the convention with the convention in the conventional norm. Number 1. Number 2, that positing the existence of this object should not be rejected by the valid cognition analyzing the conventions. Number 3, it should not be contradicted by the valid cognition analyzing the ultimate. So if these 3 points are fulfilled, then we can accept that the object is validly existent. It is not rejected. Okay, so for the time, let us be there. And meanwhile, this is very important. If you could remember how we discussed earlier, is that first don't begin from emptiness, begin from the world in which we live. Two things exist. Begin from there. If you don't begin from there, then all these complications which can potentially happen to most of us, which actually happened to many the earlier the people, the earlier the practitioners, can happen to all of us once more. That we begin with the reality that, okay, I'm this years old, okay, I'm a male, I'm a female, I live in India, I live in Israel. These realities, we have to accept these things. So first we begin by saying that things do exist, number one. Number two is that if things exist, the next question is, how do things exist? This is number two. How do things exist? So whether things exist objectively, not objectively, is not about whether or not things exist. It's about whether or not things exist. What is the mode of existence? The mode of existence. So we are simply analyzing the mode of existence. We're not analyzing the things, existence of things. We're analyzing the mode of existence. With the mode of existence, things exist objective. We see as objectively real. Now we are seeing that accepting as objectively real, there are so many contradictions. There are so many contradictions, and we end up seeing that objectively nothing's there. So once you are confirmed things exist but not from the object, then the only option left with is subjective. And even there, it will not directly come to you that, oh yeah, everything's like illusion, they exist subjectively. Because of our chronic disease, chronic illness in accepting things objectively real, that is so chronic within us that our mind, although we reject objective existence, then you cannot posit the subjectivity. Because of that, the objectivity is not there, subjectivity you cannot posit, so you fall in the abyss of nihilism. This is what tends to happen to many people. But the point is always keep in mind that things do exist. Things do exist. Not only things exist, experientially I can feel that. Okay, when I don't eat food, then I go through hypoglycemia, loss of the sugar. And if I don't rest well, then I have the tiredness and so forth. And then if I overeat, then I have the central obesity problem. And at the sedentary work style and the overeating, no doubt, the obesity increases. And exercising, the obesity disappears. These are all the undeniable facts. So where is it? Where are all these undeniable facts? If not objectively, where? Then then try to see the subjectivity, and subjective with examples like the dream coming from the subject, rainbow coming from the subject, the mirage coming from the subject, and then these, for example, say the water example. What do we see is water. But if you have to really see this on an atomic level, water is not there. So where is this water which I earlier saw? I saw. So means it was seen by the subject, not from the object. So it was left on the subject. That is the subjectivity. So this is how we gradually introduce the subjectivity. It'll take time. It'll take time, and particularly to let yourself feel very comfortable. It'll take time. We have to explore more. Explore more that objectively things don't exist. Objectively things don't exist. But still something appears to my mind on the experiential level. I can perceive them. I mean, I can experience them. Objectivity is not there. Still I'm experiencing where? On the subject. And then gradually the subjectivity becomes more and more convinced to your mind. This is how we have to go to explore. Good. Okay. Next, stanza 107. Um, 107. Well, this mode meaning the mode of conventionality which the advocates of objective existence they try to understand Bodhisattva Shantideva's conventionality. In other words, Bodhisattva Shantideva's conventionality, how things come to existence by the imputation by the mind, and how the advocates of objective existence, they interpret your understanding. This is very different. For Bodhisattva Shantideva, things exist subjectively, empty of objective existence. It doesn't mean nihilism, but the advocates of objective existence, in their ears or in their mind, they hear you as saying that there's no objective existence. Everything is just imaginary. So, which means everything exists by the power of just a total deceptive mind. Then the Bodhisattva Shantideva was saying that this is not true. Our understanding of subjectivity is not that subjective mind like imagination. No, imagination is all deceptive mind, not by the power of the deceptive mind, by the power of the mind, not by the deceptive mind, not by the imagination. So he said, 107, well, this mode is by means of another conceptual deceptive mind, meaning that how you try to understand the subjectivity is you misread my understanding. How you are saying, you meaning the advocates of objective existence, how you are interpreting the subjectivity as pure by the deceptive subjective mind, imaginary. This is wrong. But this is not our mode of conventionality. We don't say that everything is imaginary. Everything exists. Okay, with this, what we need to keep in mind is that we have to know this thing. Anything that exists must exist by the power of the mind, by mental imputation. Everything must exist by the power of the mental imputation. One. Number two, anything which is mental imputation may not exist. Don't forget it. That's very important. Anything which exists must exist by mental designation or mental imputation. But anything which is mental imputation may not exist. What is A may be, what is A is always B, but what is B may not always be A. For example, all boys are human beings, but all human beings are not boys. All boys are human beings, but all human beings are not boys. Likewise, all what exists should exist through by the power of mental imputation. What is mental imputation may not necessarily exist. This is what we need to keep in mind. With this in mind, say they cannot distinguish these two. They means the advocate of objective existence, they cannot distinguish these two things. Anything which is mental imputation, they think that this is imaginary. But the Bodhisattva Shantideva was saying, so no, imagine anything which exists may not, anything which exists may not be, okay, anything which exists should be mentally imputed, but anything which is mentally imputed may not exist, which means what is mentally imputed within that, there are two categories. Those which exist, those which do not exist. For example, in human beings, there are two categories, the males and the non-males. Males and the non-males. Okay, two categories are there. Okay. 107, well, this mode is by means of another conceptual deceptive mind, how you understand the mental the imputation is, you are saying you think that it is by the power of the deceptive mind, but this is not our mode of conventionality. If it is ascertained afterwards, it still exists, meaning that let's say that okay, this is a flower. From distance, we see that this is flower. Okay, let's say that you look at river. On the right side, you have the river. On the left side, there's no river, but you see a mirage there. In both cases, you see a water. And okay, what is on the right side? Okay, what is on the left side? There's water there. What is on the right side? There's water there. But of the two, one is valid and one is wrong. One is valid, one is wrong. So how do you evaluate this? So let's not forget about Bodhisattva, what Nagarjuna said. If the mirage were to be water, why not those close by the mirage see water? Likewise, what I see on the left side, I see is water. What I see on the right side also is water. Then I go closer towards both sides. First, I go closer towards the left side. I see that there's water there actually. You can really swim. And then you go to the right side, there's nothing there. It's just totally dry, which means that you deduce that what you earlier saw was deceptive. Whereas in the case of the left side, what you earlier saw was non-deceptive. It says, if it is ascertained afterwards, you're going closer towards what you saw as water, you go there, and if it is ascertained, if you come to cognize that yes, there is water there, I can drink it, I can swim, I can wash my clothes. Afterwards, it still exists, which means that it exists. It exists. And if not meaning to the right side, I go closer to where the water appeared. I go closer there, there's nothing there, it's totally dry. And if not discerned, ascertained afterwards through closer inspection, if not, the conventionality which you saw as water does not exist. It was a mirage. Okay, so in this connection, what the Akila said, let's not forget this. What the Lama Tsongkhapa in his text, this text, the Lamrim, the great treatise on the stages of the path, in English there are 3 volumes, and in the 3rd volume, what Yakila said is there that how do you ascertain that something validly exists or something does not exist? It is on the basis of seeing if the object fulfills 3 criteria. 1, that it should be it should be accepted, or it should be renowned. Number 1. Number 2, that the existence of that object should not be rejected by the value cognition analyzing the convention. Because if something exists, it should be either ultimate existence, the ultimate truth, or the conventional truth. So the mind analyzing these 2 should not contradict with the object, that particular object. Then the number 3 is that it should not, the existence of that object should not be contradicted by the value cognition analyzing the ultimate. For example, let's say that if I say that, okay, this is the olive oil. If I say that this olive oil, okay, to my mind, I may be hallucinating, so it is renowned as olive oil to my mind. But when I subject this to the value cognition, analyzing the convention, what is olive oil? Those people who are expert in olive oil, they will come and they say, no, this is not olive oil, this is just plain water. Which means that my belief that this to be olive oil, this glass of water to be olive oil, that is contradicted by the convention, the value cognition analyzing the convention of the olive oil. Whereas if I say that, oh, this is not olive oil, this is water, this is objectively existing water, it is not mentally imputed, then yes, it is renowned as objectively existing water to me and to many of my friends, number 1. And it is not contradicted by the value cognition cognizing the convention, because this is not a conventional truth. The water to be objectively real or not, this does not fall under the category of conventional truth. So the conventional truth cannot, or say the mind analysis conventional truth cannot reject it. In other words, Einstein cannot reject say the neuroscience, because this is not his area. Likewise, Mozart cannot reject E equals MC square because E is MC square is not Mozart's area. Mozart's area is music. Einstein's area is physics, not the neuroscience. So the mind analyzing the conventions, area of the analysis is conventional truth, not the ultimate truth. Whereas the water to be objectively real or not objectively real, that is about the ultimate truth. So the conventional truth, the mind value cognition analyzing the conventional truth cannot reject this. So what can reject this is by the number 3. That is that belief that the water to be objectively real, that is rejected by the value cognition analyzing the ultimate. Because when you see this water as objectively real, and then when you say that this exists objectively, then we will subject this water to ultimate analysis. Going close to the object, then you end up seeing the H2O, atoms, electrons, protons, neutrons. That's it. None of the electron, proton, neutron is the water. So you see that from the object, the sense as water dissolves. The concept of the water dissolves. It becomes meaningless on that level. Going too close to the object. So therefore, that the belief that the water exists objectively, that is rejected. Okay, it fulfills the first 2 criteria, but does not fulfill the third one. That it is not rejected by the value cognition analyzing the convention. No, analyzing the ultimate. That is not fulfilled because it is contradicted by the value cognition analyzing the ultimate. So therefore, since that it does not fulfill the 3 criteria, even if one is not fulfilled, it ceases to be existent. In other words, it doesn't make sense to be existent. Okay, good. 108. Both the conceptual thought and the objective investigation are mutually dependent. And by the dependence on worldly acceptance, all objects of analysis are expressed. Now, we see that then how do things exist? How do things exist? Say okay, this is very interesting. Say the flower. We see the flower so objectively real there. And the flower makes sense only when there is the mind perceiving a flower. There's a subject perceiving the flower. In the absence of the subject perceiving the flower makes no sense. But in the minds of ordinary people, okay, even if we all leave this house, keep this flower here, we all leave this house, lock the door, and we don't come to this hall for the next 20 years. And all alone these 20 years, this flower exists or not exists. If our mind, no mind is perceiving this, the flower exists or not. So to the ordinary people like us, naturally thinking, of course we leave. Of course the flower should be there. So in other words, what I'm saying is that we have a feeling, we get a feeling that in the absence of the mind perceiving the flower still exists. That is the belief that the flower exists objectively. Okay, so my question to you is, when we all leave this room, then the flower exists or not exists in this room? Okay, raise hands. Those who will say yes. Okay. Okay, Shahala? Not sure. Shahala is very sure. Exists, not exists. If we all leave this hall and we don't touch anything in this hall, including this flower, is on the table, we all leave this hall, lock the door, and then we all leave this for the next, let's say, 1 week. So for this 1 week, the flower on the table is existent, non-existent. Raise your hands, those who say yes. Raise your hands. Okay, raise your hands who says no. Okay, Charlie, no. Raviji, no. Okay. Okay. So those who said then the Charlie and Raviji, do you have a locker in your house? Do you have a locker where you the safe locker safe? You have a safe, right?
Yeah.
When you lock it, then what happens to the inside? Everything is disappeared. If everything disappears, why do you have to lock it?
Okay.
Okay, Raviji, do you have something in your locker, the safe?
Yeah, it should be there, but
You
it's
have-
not imputed by the mind.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that when you leave the hall, then the flower disappears. Then if you say, oh, then the flower disappears, there's no flower there. If the mind is not there, then I will ask your locker or your safe where you keep your money,
Okay.
jewelries and so forth. The jewelries are there or not when you lock the safe. If you say yes, right? If you say yes, then the flower should be also there. Then if you say no, then why are you locking it? Right? If there's no jewelry inside, why should you have to lock it? Okay, so this question. Then if you say that yes, the flower exists, then the flower, is this not mental imputation? This is my question. Okay, all of you, except for Charlie and the Raviji, all of you said yes, the flower exists, even when we lock this room and we stay away for 1 week. The 1 week, the flower exists in the hall, in the room. If you say this, then I say the flower in the room when you are not looking at it, is it mentally imputed or not? This is my question. Reasons? Okay, Hila re. Love to put Ajadi. Hila Ayalon. Kari Hila de Ajadi. Tada. Tienes malta de poita de chanta de poi. Abu you mentioned. Oh, didi. The count on the Cardo. Hila Ayalon unmute. Unmute. Yes. Hila Ayalon, what happened to when you leave this house and nobody looks at the flower exists or not exists?
I think exists.
It exists. Then is this flower not imputed by the flower, not imputed by the mind?
I don't know.
Okay. So the Hila Ayalon is very the honest. Okay, anybody else? Okay, the Ruchita.
Geshe-la, it exists, but it exists not objectively from a mental imputation only. It exists.
Okay, it exists by imputation.
Yes, Geshe-la, because then the room also should not exist. We leave, lock the room and go. The flower doesn't exist. The room also shouldn't exist.
No. This is for you. Not only the flower should disappear, even the room should also disappear. This might be the question against you, Ruchita ji. Right?
Yes, Geshe-la, if it does not exist.
Who imputes the flower? Okay, this is Tumla.
Geshe-la, I just tried. So according to Prasangika's point of view, every phenomena is a mere imputation. And speaking about imputation, there are two things. What is imputed, or the object, and what imputes, or the subject. So technically speaking, if the subject, the mind, is removed, then the object cannot be posited. But since you are asking us now what is going on with the flower if the subject is removed, then your question already serving as a basis for the imputation of the flower. Therefore, since we already imputed the flower just now, we can easily answer that there are only two ways to explain how it exists with respect to the subject and with respect to the object. So with respect to the subject, imputed
So
flower.
what you're saying is that when we think, then flower exists.
No, I want to say that with respect to the subject, the flower exists, and with respect to the object.
No, this is my question to you is very simple. When you leave this house locked, the flower inside exists. Does it exist or not?
But we are discussing about the flower now, so we are already imputing this flower, and this flower exists, but it does not exist independently
let's say
from the mind.
Like, okay, what you are saying is that the moment we are discussing about the flower, we're imputing it. This is what you're saying.
Yes.
If this, let me put you a second question. Say we all leave this house, then I talk about this. Were you in this house? I'm discussing about you in the house, which means that I'm imputing the you in the house.
Geshe, I need to think how to reply.
Okay, anyone raise hands? Okay, Nirasla. Okay, then
yeah. Geshe, that's the answer maybe in verse 108, where it's saying since they are mutually dependent and on dependence on worldly acceptance, it exists. Because that's a convention.
Okay, so it doesn't exist by mental imputation. It exists by the mutual dependence. Okay, Carolyn Chen.
Sheila, the flower exists by generic image.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, which means that okay, my bank account, which is zero, bank account balance zero, I can create a generic image of $1 billion. Then $1 billion exists or not exist? There's a generic image with $1 billion. Okay.
Sheila, I was thinking earlier we were in the room.
Okay.
We see the flower, it exists objectively.
So
Carolyn
Chen is asking me not to switch the topic. So she wants me to be in the room also. Only in the room. Okay, let's say when we go out of the room, then the flower in the room, does it exist or not? Yes, it exists. How does it exist? Nobody, no mind imputes it.
It has substance. It exists objectively because it has substance.
There. So your mind is not relevant. Even if your mind is gone, still don't worry. There's a substance there. Is what he's saying? If this was your view, then it becomes objective substance. Okay, Gilala.
You can impute retroactively. You don't have to impute exactly at the same time while you are in the room.
You can impute when?
Sorry?
You can impute when? Not at the same time. Then when?
When you're out of the room, you can impute. Because you have been on the basis of being in the room and imputing.
Okay, which means that there should be somebody there. We should give a job that you continue to impute, otherwise the flower will disappear.
No.
Then?
On the basis of being in the room.
If nobody imputes, then no flower.
We were in the room before, in the past.
Yes.
Yeah, we were.
Then, so that imputation is good enough.
And when you think again about it on the basis of being there,
if you don't
then
think, then what happens? Yes. If you think again is fine. If you don't think, then what happens? Okay, then the next Yakila.
Well, I think that probably one easy way out of it would say that a Buddha's mind is unobstructed. So if a Buddha's mind says the flower exists in the room, then it exists in the room. So that's one way of saying that.
Which means to know that there's a flower in the room, you have to know the Buddha's mind.
Well, just because I don't know that the flower
You don't know, right?
in the room does not
You
mean to
don't
say
know.
that. Well, so to be imputed by the mind doesn't mean to say that it needs to impute by my mind. If it is imputed by somebody else's valid mind, it's enough for it to exist. It doesn't have to.
Which means you don't know that the flower exists or not.
Well, like for example,
Because
like
you
for
don't know
example,
others' mind.
yeah, but I don't need to know another's mind in order for it to exist. Like for example, if my sister in Israel doesn't know now that you're in Delhi, doesn't mean that you're not, that because she doesn't know that you're in Delhi, that you're not in Delhi.
This is actually my debate was you.
So I'm saying that if someone else imputes it, it's enough.
No,
if someone else knows it, it's enough. I don't need to know.
Let's go back to the first question. The room, when you leave the room, lock the door, the flower in the room exists or not exists?
It exists. Because someone
So
knows
who
that
imputes? Who imputes?
Like for example, a Buddha's mind can posit that it exists. It doesn't.
So how do you know that Buddha's mind is imputing it?
Why do I need to know that the Buddha's mind is imputed it?
Because you said that Buddha's mind is imputing it. How do you know that? Okay, anybody else who likes to defend Yakila? Okay, Charlie.
Geshe, conventionally, all phenomena exist.
Conventionally, everything exists, yes. How
So
they exist?
exist?
They exist by mental imputation.
So whether by mental imputation or not, conventionally the flower exists, so it will exist. It exists.
Yes. So conventionally, everything exists. So conventionally meaning mental imputation. Conventional existence, mentally imputed, they all mean the same. So when you say something conventional exists, which means that something doesn't ultimately exist. If something doesn't ultimately exist, they exist by subjective existence. They exist by subjectivity or mental imputation. So the mind should impute it. Okay, what happened now? Anybody? Okay, Shala, what happened?
I find myself following, after this debate, I prefer to follow the objective existence, like to join them. Because the problem is that even if I imputed the flower, I was in the room and then I went out. And then Karen is changing things and she threw out the flower. Then I impute the flower is there, but the flower is not there. When I come back, like this big, I go through the flower, but I was imputing the flower. And so I was imputing throwing the flower away. So there must be something objective over there.
Okay, so this is the Shahala, you have forgotten what we studied in the earlier session. Everything imputed, say Kiran is changing the things inside, and you impute still, oh, there's a flaw there, but she already removed it, right? So your mind is imputing it. What we learned this morning is that whatever is imputed may not exist. Whatever is existent should be imputed. We said it already.
Mm-hmm.
So your mind imputes doesn't mean that it should exist. What exists should be mentally imputed. You're getting it? We should not forget this part. That's very important. So that does not prove the objective existence. Okay, the Smitaji, you want to say something? No? Okay. That's it. Tamila? There are two Tamis. Tamila, no. Okay, anybody else? Both Tamis, no. Okay, so what do you do? Okay, now this is quite a disturbing question. Quite a disturbing question. Now, what is so important is, okay, with this question, still how many of you really want to understand emptiness? Raise hands. Even if this question is there, still I must have to understand emptiness. Okay, raise hands. Good. Okay, if you really want to understand emptiness, despite this question being a challenge, this is a really very challenging question. Very challenging question. In the monastic universities, the scholars debate on this. Okay, so what is important is that first, one thing, how you deal with this is, first you try to see if this understanding resonates with your thinking. That is that, okay, let's say first the dream, with example, the dream. Okay, when you're dreaming, you see the dream as real. When you wake up, oh, it was just coming from my mind. It was just coming from my mind. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Good. In the dream, no matter how much somebody tries to tell you that this is dream, you will not believe. Only when you wake up, you'll believe that, okay, this is not real. Likewise, this flower, the exercises, perhaps in one of the sessions, we will do a short session on the meditation on emptiness. Say, this flower, in reality, one way we can see this flower. Another way we can see this as a bunch of atoms. And both are correct, but intellectually we can say they both are correct. Experientially, these are very different. When you see there's a bunch of atoms, when you see the flower's not there, it's quite disturbing in your mind. You will get a feeling of the uneasy feeling coming to your mind when the flower disappears. And all these functionalities, when we subject to the ultimate analysis, they dissolve, and a tinge of uneasy feeling would come to you. When that happens, that is your experiential understanding, that something is not there. What appears to me, something is not there. I'm seeing something which is not really there. This must come to you first before we actually delve into these questions. They say when you close the door and the flower inside, is it there or not there? Before you focus too much on this question, first we have to focus on what I'm seeing is not real. That is extremely important. And when you see that what I'm seeing is not real, still you will not be able to posit the subjectivity. But the objectivity, you can empty the objectivity. That can happen initially. That can happen. Once you get this, and then try to see this more, how what I'm seeing is not really there. So if possible, study more, reflect more, and go into the meditation a little bit. But don't go to the extreme of where you feel overwhelmingly disturbed. If it's overwhelmingly disturbed, then stop it. When you see that what I'm seeing is not there. Whereas if it disturbs you, but not so overwhelmingly, you're very fortunate. Continue with this practice that objectively is not there. Then with this, you are fully convinced about this. Then go to the next part, which is that how my mind can deceive things in perceiving things, how my mind can be deceptive in perceiving things. One time, the very young student, and maybe I was age 21, 22, and after the debate in the monastery, in the first monastery, the Institute of Buddhist Dialectics, after the debate hours, then we were going around the main temple for circumambulation, and I was with the senior monk, and Professor just taking the circumambulation around the temple, main temple Dharamsala, and it was a rainy season, and they used to be the like 1-inch insect 1 inch, a very tiny worm, and I used to pick them up and put them on this safe place. So one time I bent down, I was talking to my senior, and I bent down and I was picking that up. Picking that up, I realized that it was not a worm, it was just a stick, ordinary stick. And my friend, he is very humorous person. He's a very funny person. He said, Dorji, look, this is your deceptive mind. It's just a mere perception to your consciousness. It's not really there. You have a deceptive mind. So it appeared as the insect there to your mind, but there's mere appearance, not really there. So these examples that so many times you have come across these deceptions, seeing things, but in actuality is not really the case. These experiences should not be forgotten. We must bring these experiences. For example, like the dream. In dream, you see it's so real. You wake up, it was just your mere mental perception. And then, so this is how we have to do. Proceed first by rejecting what you're seeing is not really there. Rejecting what you're seeing to be there. What I'm seeing is not really there. This is number one. Then after that, then more examples of how your mind can see something, but not really there. How your mind can see. How your mind can see. This is number two. Then number three, if possible, number three is study the tenet system. And not all the tenet systems. There's one tenet system written by one great teacher, Venerable Jigme Ongbo. Venerable Jigme Ongbo, what he wrote. This you have to study. If you study this with the help of a teacher, then the introduction to how the subject mind can project things on various levels will be introduced. With this, then over time, you will get the conviction that, okay, what I'm seeing, there's not really, from the object, there's nothing there. Whatever I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing, it's just coming projected by my mind. So the power of the projection will come to you over time. It will not come first. It will come the last. The power of the projection, within the projection, then things operate. Things operating infallibly within the domain of the projection. Once that comes to you, then then you will see that, okay, they say I'm in the room, I'm not in the room, it doesn't matter. The room is projected, what is inside the room is projected, and what I project may exist, may not exist. And where, for example, somebody is inside the room, alters the things they are, and I think something is there, and I go there, I don't find it, which means that my early projection was totally mistaken. And whereas I'm dead sure that there's nobody there in this room, and then I know nobody went there to my room, and then in my room, I leave the key in this place, I go there, I get it. So there, we see how all these things are projections, and yet all these, the issues, debates, questions will be resolved. Otherwise, if we just keep solving these problems, first, so when you leave this, who projects this, if you do this, you will not be convinced fully. At the same time, the answer will not come clearer. So the best would be the answer will come to you very, very satisfactorily if you take these steps. No objective existence. Then with examples of subjectivity possible, pure subjectivity possible. Number two, and then within the subjectivity or projection, everything is operating infallibly. So 3 steps. So this is how we have to follow. If you follow this, and of course, this is not an easy task, it will take time. And if you really want to get into all the fears of life, and the fears of life is very scary. It's acutely scary, overwhelmingly scary. And if you don't really want to go through this, then we have to look for emptiness. And for this matter, we have to do right from now on. Don't wait till the last minute. We have to do from now on. And try to study more, try to reflect more, and meditate more, and try to get as close the experience is possible. Okay. Good. The next is the stanza 109. Suppose you object if the analytical intelligence that examines whether or not an object exists intrinsically is subject to examination in turn, this leads to an infinite regress. Now the opponents, the same thing, opponents, they come to you saying that if nothing really exists objectively, even the mind which says that nothing exists objectively, even this mind, you see that this mind which analyzes the ultimate reality, the mind which sees the emptiness of the objective existence, even this mind does not exist objectively. If that is the case, then nothing's really there. This is the opponent's view. In fact, this is what is bound to happen to many of us. In fact, there was one person who was asking this question, who said that, okay, Geshe, I'm meditating on emptiness. And the meditation goes so well on emptiness. And suddenly I come to realize that there's a mind. There's a mind which is meditating. You're getting it? I say, oh, it's emptiness, everything dissolves. But suddenly I realize that not everything is dissolved. The mind is there. If the mind is not there, who's meditating? Okay. Anybody who likes to give response to this? This is a question from someone who's a very serious, intelligent person, intelligent, and a very dedicated person. Anybody who likes to give the answer to this? Okay, let's say I'm sharing the person's experience. Okay, Geshe, I'm meditating on emptiness. It's very, extremely profound experience. Everything dissolves. Suddenly a question came to me that, oh, who's meditating? My mind is meditating on this emptiness. So my mind is not there. This mind is not dissolved. So not that everything is empty of objective existence. Except for the mind, everything is, all others are empty of objective. But the mind is there, it is meditating. Okay, anybody? If you believe in this, then finish. The mind is seen as objectively real. Okay, anybody who likes to respond to this? Yakila?
Well, maybe the initial meditation on emptiness was using a certain reference point for emptiness, the object that is the basis for emptiness. But if he analyzes just the same the mind and tries to see whether the mind itself is found without analysis and investigation, he will see that also the mind is not found.
Mind is not found, but the mind is meditating, right?
Yeah, but the mind is meditating, but when we meditate on emptiness, we emptiness on emptiness in relation to a certain object.
But
so if you meditate,
mind is still there, mind is found, right? The person found the mind.
He was not looking for the mind.
This is what I'm saying. So the person meditates on emptiness of mind and suddenly realizes that the mind is meditating on emptiness of mind. So this mind is there.
Well, I would say that his procedure in meditating on emptiness was not the right procedure.
Okay, this is wrong procedure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's quite scary. Emptiness of mind. We shouldn't meditate on this. Then when you find the mind.
No, I'm not saying that that's the wrong. I'm saying that maybe the guy was not using the right procedure for meditating on emptiness. Maybe his.
No, what I'm saying is when you're meditating on even Arindugarjuna, I don't think his meditation emptiness is wrong, right? Yes.
I believe so.
Oh, of course. This, if you believe it, then finish. Then the whole master plan is gone. Okay. And okay. So the first, let's keep it there. Gilala, what is your view?
My view is there are two sides to the same coin. Say,
how?
the mind who is meditating is empty, but it's still functioning. It's the union of emptiness and knowing. Emptiness and clearance.
The person is not seeing the emptiness of mind.
If he's meditating on the emptiness of the mind, he will see the emptiness of the mind. He won't be able to find it.
The mind. He will not be able to see the mind.
Yeah, which is the emptiness of the mind.
Will the person see the mind or not at that point?
No, he won't see the mind, but the mind's still functioning.
This is what I'm saying. So when he was meditating on the emptiness of the mind, he discovered that I'm meditating on the emptiness of mind. My mind is meditating on the emptiness of mind. He discovered the mind meditating on the emptiness of mind. He discovered the mind or not?
Yeah. But the mind is empty. It's like there are two things that exist simultaneously in this case.
Which means this person's mind can see the mind as well as the emptiness of mind both simultaneously.
Which means the mind seeing the emptiness of the mind is of itself is functioning, still functioning. It doesn't mean that it doesn't function anymore. That's the other side of the coin.
Okay, so what Gilala said, I fully agree with what Gilala said. Yes. In fact, this is where these are the slight nuances here and there we need to be able to fine tune. In fact, what the person is doing is that's very true. These experiences are very possible in many cases. Say you meditate emptiness of the mind, and yes, experience is so deep, and then your imprint of checking your mind. Who is meditating? My mind is meditating. When you say this, what Gilala said, the first time, the first moment when you're meditating on the emptiness of the mind, your mind is focused on the emptiness. Second moment, your mind, the same mind meditating on the emptiness of emptiness, it has moved the object from the mind, the emptiness of mind, to the mind. These two things are simultaneous. The mind and the emptiness of mind, the two simultaneous things, but your mind which is meditating, your mind initially which was meditating, it can switch between the two objects, flower to the book, to the flower, to the book. This mind can switch the object. Likewise, so initially you are meditating on the emptiness of mind. The moment you ask, what is my mind doing? My mind is meditating. You have already lost track of the emptiness of mind as your object. In other words, your mind has switched from initially it was the mind analyzing the ultimate. So from there, it changes its form to the mind analyzing the convention. So this is how your mind can change. For example, say we practice the Bodhisattva, compassion. And then after like half an hour, 1 hour, then you switch to the emptiness meditation. So the mind changes its object. So sometimes the mind can change object very fast. Sometimes we can change it through our will, through our, say, the volitional, the power. And sometimes it happens automatically. You switch automatically. So when that happens, the switch has changed. The mind has changes, moves its object from the emptiness of the mind to the mind, which means the first mind is ultimate analysis, and the second mind is conventional analysis. With the conventional analysis, you are bound to see conventional phenomena. So this is how we have to respond to it. Okay. Okay. Next, 109. If the analytical intelligence, which is the ultimate analysis, the mind which analyzes the ultimate, if the analytical intelligence that examines whether or not an object exists intrinsically, when this mind is subjected to examination, when the mind say my left hand, that is, let's say this is the mind analyzing the ultimate. And then this mind, you use this object, you employ another mind to see this mind. To see if this mind exists objectively or subjectively. So this mind will also dissolve. This is the ultimate analysis of this mind. This, in the eyes of this mind will dissolve. When this mind dissolves, then where is this mind? So nothing is left now. This is according to the advocates of objective existence. But for the Prasangikas, advocates of emptiness of true existence, this is not a problem. This should be the case. Nothing exists objectively. The ultimate analysis, even this mind, the wisdom of emptiness, when you subject the wisdom of emptiness to ultimate analysis, even this you will see the emptiness of the emptiness, or emptiness of the wisdom of emptiness. You will discover this. So there's no contradiction. In fact, this reinforces this philosophy that nothing exists objectively. Whereas what they say is that, look at this, okay, the flower does not exist. Your mind analyzes the flower, and the flower does not exist objectively. Then you analyze, another mind analyzes this mind, you say this also empty, it dissolves. Then it will lead you to infinite regress. Infinite regress means that it will never end. When will it end? So this mind analyzed by this mind, mind B, then mind A dissolves. Mind C analyzes mind A, mind the mind B dissolves. Mind D analyzes mind C dissolves. So it goes ad infinitum, which means infinite regress. There's no stop. When you stop, it will never stop. It does not have to stop. It simply tells us that in reality, no matter how much you do analysis, you can find nothing objectively. Everything exists subjectively. Okay, 109. Suppose you object if the analytical intelligence or the wisdom of emptiness that examines whether or not an object exists intrinsically, if that mind is subject to examination, ultimate analysis, in turn, this leads, then it will dissolve. And again, second mind by the third mind by the fourth, it leads to an infinite regrets. It will never come to an end. 110. Well, when the object of analytical inquiry is being examined, the analytical inquiry has no basis, meaning that, of course, it has no objective basis. There's nothing which has objective basis. And because of being without a basis, without objective basis, it does not arise. It does not arise objectively. This is called natural nirvana, where, say, the objectively nothing is there. Since objectively nothing is there, objectively there's no suffering. Objectively, naturally, there's no suffering. Objectively, there's no suffering. No suffering is known as nirvana. So this is known as natural nirvana. 111. For these two to truly exist, okay, these two meaning the object, and to say that the flower exists truly, or the wisdom analyzing the object truly, for these two, object and the subject, to truly exist as the realist hold is hard to maintain. You cannot maintain. You cannot prove. There is no proof. You cannot have any sound basis to say that the object and the subject, they exist objectively. Nothing exists objectively. Because if an object is established as truly existent by the power of a cognition, then what is the basis of reasoning for the existence of the cognition? Say that the flower exists objectively. Flower exists objectively. How? If I'm the advocate of objective existence and you reject objective existence, you ask me, the flower exists objectively? I say yes. How do you know that the flower exists objectively? Because my mind sees it. And then your question will be, how do you know that this mind objectively sees the flower? How do you know this? So what would be, okay, actually this is not only the debate to me, it's debate to you also. You, the advocate of emptiness of objective existence. Okay, do you see a flower in the right hand? Yes. How do you know that there's a flower in the right hand? I can see that. Your consciousness can see that. Not only you know the flower in the existence of flower in my right hand, you also know your consciousness sees the flower. How do you know that? How do you know that your consciousness sees the flower? Okay, this is not only a debate to me, the advocate of objective existence, it's a debate to you also. So how do you defend it? How do you know that there's a flower in my right hand? You will say that my consciousness can see that. How do you know that your consciousness can see the flower? Okay, so these debates are very precious debates. These are very precious questions. And initially, yes, when we delve into this analysis, a mental disturbance will be the unease will come to you, no doubt. Sometimes this unease can be quite intense, and you may get a feeling that, how can I get out of this unease? Is unease given by the cognitive thought process. Cognitively, you feel challenged. So this uneasy feeling comes to you. And the thing is, just continue this exploration, study more, don't feel complacent with just one text, the Bodhisattva Shantideva's chapter 9 all the time. You go to study the Acharya and the Chandragiti's text, then gradually the Aranigarjuna's text. You have to study these more. Okay. So if you ask me, how do you see this flower? I say that flower exists objectively. How do you know that? My mind knows that. And how do you know that your mind knows it? Okay. So either have to go back. My second moment of mind, second moment, third, then it goes to infinite regress. Okay. So let's see what answer they give. Then what is the basis of reasoning for the existence of cognition? Yes, cognition. Cognition meaning that the flower is known by the cognition. I said the flower exists objectively. How do you know that? Because my cognition means my mind cognizes the flower as objective real. They say advocates of objective existence will say this. Then your question is, how do you know that this cognition is happening? How do you know that? And what is the basis of reasoning for the existence of this cognition? 112. And if a cognition is established from the power of the object of cognition, because of the object is there, because the object is there, cognition is happening. Then we see that these two are mutually dependent. Cognition of your knowing the cognition is dependent on the knowledge of the object. Knowledge of the object depends on knowledge of the cognition. These two are mutually dependent. Mutually dependent means they are not independently real. If something is not independently real, then the object does not exist objectively. Objective existence, independent existence, true existence, intrinsic existence, they all mean the same. Okay. 1 and 2. And if a cognition is established from the power of the object of cognition, then what is the basis of reasoning for the true existence of the object of cognition? Okay, go. The back and forth. Their existence is established by the power of the mutual dependence. By knowing the object, you know the subject. You know the subject, you know the object. There's a mutual dependency there, which entails that both would not truly existent. If they are mutually dependent, then nothing is independent. They're dependent on each other. They are not independent. If it is not independent, it is not truly real. If it's not truly real, it is not objectively real. 113. For example, if a man without a child is not a father, then by whom is the child son? So again, the father and the child, again, these two are also mutually dependent. Because in the absence of a child, there can be no father. And again, the subject and the object, they are mutually dependent, because of which the subject and object, they are not truly existent. 104. Suppose you ask, a sprout grows from a seed. And just as the true existence of the seed is indicated by the sprout, by the arising of cognition from the object of cognition, by what its true existence also be realized. Okay, so the sprout and the seed, we see that Sprout grows from the seed, and because of the sprout, although you have not seen the seed before, you can say, oh, the seed must have preceded the sprout. So from there you can infer it. This is opponents. This is what it's saying. But the arising of a cognition from the object of cognition, say the flower is object of cognition, and then the cognition arises but depends on the object of cognition, the flower, the cognition, meaning your mind arises. Why cannot its true existence? Why cannot the true existence of the cognition be established on the basis of the object? This is the opponents. Saying that the opponents, they say that the object exists truly or objectively. 115. Well, if the seed is realized by the cognition different from the sprout, okay, let's say how do you know you are seeing the sprout? Let's say that the Dharma Friends of Israel, let's say for this teaching, we Shahala let us plant a Bodhi tree as in the memory of that Bodhi tree. And the Bodhi tree, we plant this, and after 10 years, we forgot that we planted this. And somebody asked us, okay, the 10 years ago when we were there, there was no tree here. But you can see the tree now. Yes, can you infer the presence of the seed before 10 years before? Or any time before this tree? Yes, of course, without the seed, the tree is not possible. So, although you have not seen the seed before, from the presence of the tree, you can infer the presence of this seed earlier. Okay, how many you understand it? How many agree with to this? Very good. Now, if the seed is realized, the previous seed which you did not see is inferred or realized by a cognition different from the sprout. Say, you see the sprout, and then you can infer the seed, and you know the sprout by your cognition. Your cognition which is different from the sprout, your cognition knows the sprout. From the sprout, you infer the seed. So through this, we know the seed. By what reasoning is the true existence of the cognition? Okay, so the seed you know through the sprout. The sprout you know through your cognition. How do you know this cognition then? How do you know the presence of this cognition? Okay, by what reasoning is the true existence of the cognition, which is inferred through its apprehension of the object, established? By what? So the only option, if you believe in objective existence, how do you infer the seed? I can see this sprout here. I can see the sprout here. How do you know the sprout? My cognition can see this. Okay, that's far is easy. How do you know this cognition? If you believe in objective existence, then there are two possibilities. You believe in objective existence, or you don't believe in objective existence. If you reject objective existence, then you can accept the mutuality of dependence. But dependence on knowing the object, you know the subject. By knowing the subject, you know the object. There's a mutuality dependence. That's fine. But if you accept objective existence, you cannot accept the mutuality dependence. So how can you then posit the cognition? So this cognition, you can either say the second moment of cognition. What about the second moment of cognition? By the third moment, if you go like this, it will go ad infinitum and infinite regress. This is totally against the logic. So what is the other option? Other option is self-cognizant mind. And self-cognizant mind is rejected by Prasangika already. So therefore, you cannot posit the objective existence of the cognition. If you cannot establish the cognition, you cannot establish the sprout. If you cannot establish the sprout, you cannot establish the seed. So this is the rejection by the Bodhisattva against the advocates of objective existence. Okay. Okay, we'll stop here. And if you have questions, I'd like to edit in 1 or 2 questions. So next is the on emptiness. How do you establish emptiness? And I will introduce to you some reasonings. The 5 very popular reasons to establish emptiness. I'm going to quickly introduce that tomorrow. Okay. The questions. Pong King. Unmute.
Geshe-la, yeah, thank you, Geshe-la. Can hear?
Yes.
Yes, I just want to get back to the flowers in the room when we left. The flowers in the room when we left. Would that be of 2 reasons to backing it up that is there? The first one would be the subjective projections are infallible with the cause and effect. That's one reason. And then the second reason is the Buddha's mind being pervasive, so can see all phenomena at all times. So 2 reasons that supports that the flowers is there when I'm out of the room. Can I say that?
Okay, good, thank you.
And I have another question as well, but after that, yeah.
Okay, so the 2 points, Pun King, the renders 2 points. One is the infallibility of the cause and effect relationship operating there. Then number 2 is the pervasive existence of the Buddha's mind at all times and all places. In space and in time, the Buddha's mind pervades. So Buddha's mind is pervading the space and time at all times and in space. Let's say what Shahala said will the answer meaning the point is correct, that Buddha's mind, yes, pervades all 3 times, but this cannot be used as a reason to prove that the flower still exists in the house when everybody leaves and lock the door, because that we never know, somebody can alter the flower and remove the flower, right? Now this flower is dirty, is wrong, is already, is already filthy. I remove it, but then when everybody comes back, I'll buy a new one. And then you think that, oh, the Buddha's mind is pervasive in all times. Buddha's mind recognizes it. Still you think like this? This is erroneous. Because the flower's not there. The flower's not there. This is one thing. Then this one, the infallibility of cause and effect. Infallible cause effect. Yes, the point is correct. The cause and effect is infallible. Say, as long as the flower is there, as long as you keep the flower there, lock the door, and don't keep anybody inside there. And then they say the flower is there or not. We say yes. How do you know it's there? Or because of the infallible cause and effect. And how can we say or not say? How can we say or not say that there is a sinkhole in this hole, sinkhole, and the flower is sucked up by this, and we think that it's still there, and the cause and effect is operating, right? This is also possible. We never know. So how do we know?
But that it falls into cause and effect. If it's got a sinkhole, you will go and you will sink down. And that I gone back to the room and don't see the flowers. And because of cause effect, it's not there. It's still logical, isn't it?
No, what I'm saying is, say whether or not there's a flower there. So everybody said yes. Who imputes it?
The mind, one's mind,
which mind? Which mind? When you're out or when you're inside?
When I'm inside.
When you're out.
When I'm out, my mind is not with the flowers. Yeah.
Okay, so when you're out, your mind is not imputed. Whose mind is imputing it?
Then Buddha's mind is imputing it.
So how do you know that Buddha's mind is imputing it?
Because it's pervasive.
First, keep in mind that the Buddha's mind can never impute anything. Let's not forget it. Buddha's mind can see that. Buddha's mind cannot impute it. Imputation is a typical function of the conceptual mind, and Buddha's mind is freed of all conceptualities.
Right. That's why I was just thinking that on this basis, when we talk about projecting the mind projecting and imputing, and I always associate them as same, but it's not the same. Yeah. Projecting and imputing.
Projecting and imputing is same. The Buddha's mind does not project anything. Buddha's mind sees things.
So you're talking about projecting and imputing is a conceptual mind. When you say
exactly.
When you see things, that means direct condition, like sense, is not
sense perception.
It's a
direct perception.
So that being the case, like the sense power, say for instance, sense consciousness, direct sense consciousness.
It is very close to sense consciousness. Even the mental consciousness, independent of the sense consciousness, Buddhism might perceive things independent of the sense consciousnesses, sense powers, physical sense powers.
So our sense power is still a direct conception, right?
Our sense consciousness, let's say.
Our sense
consciousness is direct. Yes.
And we can't,
not conceptual.
that way.
It will not project. It does not project things. It does not impute things.
So you always have to be depending on the mental conceptual
yes.
mind. Right.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. Another question is I would like to ask in the meditation of emptiness, is it advisable to take real situations like problems in one's work or family problems into the meditation and subject this kind of thing, these problems using the 4 essentials or the 5 or 7 points of analysis, or must one stick to the points described in the text, which sometimes become quite mechanical for beginners like us, like myself. So whether it's possible to employ, I just please teach
Very
me.
good, very good, very good. Thank you so much. This is again a very pertinent question. Whether or not we can employ the emptiness meditation related to your day-to-day life, the situations like family issues and so forth, whether or not this is possible. The answer is, okay, let's say that for the time being, till one's meditation emptiness is quite stable, let's say the meditation emptiness of the Buddha, emptiness of your gurus and so forth, and don't do them at this point, because for us, before our emptiness meditation is quite stable, where the emptiness, then the functionality, the dependent origination, until we see these two as concomitant experiences, it can be quite dangerous. Our tendency to experience emptiness can be more tilted towards nihilism. And then the Buddha, law of karma, your gurus and so forth. And then you can tilt into, say, the nihilism. Nihilism related to Buddhas and the gurus and so forth. This is not a good thing. So, whereas with the family things, do it. No issues, do it. And by so doing, if you feel that your agitation, irritation subsides, this is a very good indication. Go ahead with this. Yeah, go ahead. This is very precious. Yeah, but don't tell your the family members, okay, you are empty, in my meditation, you are nothing, you are just empty. And those people who have the real experience of emptiness, for them is fine. But others, they may feel offended that you are just totally negligent of us now. You're going too much into Buddhism and you are neglecting the family. If this happens, it's not good. So what do? Keep it confidential. Keep it confidential. Do it. Keep it confidential. And particularly by doing so, if your mental agitation subsides and your relationship with the family improves, it's so good. It's to be encouraged. Very good. Yeah.
Sorry, may I ask another question?
Yes, please.
Since the objective I is only a conceptual image in one's mind, and is not an existence, then when one left with, then one left with, just the mind and the body, and realizing that, intellectually realizing that one's body and mind is dependent arising. There is no objective existence. So, and that both of them functions in accordance to cause and effect. They are dependent arising. They are dependent arising. As such, when one meets with, say, like the 8 worldly concerns, that one thinks, all these 8 worldly concerns is just no point to grasp into it. You can't grasp anyway, or no point to avert because you will still come because it's dependent arising. So instead, we at those moments just for the present moment, just try to focus positivities and try to avoid negativities. Is that something that one should practice in such a manner?
Okay. The best thing would be go for extensive studies. This is very important. Go for extensive studies, extensive reflection, and then meanwhile, once you get a good picture of the emptiness extensively, then incorporate meditation. As I said earlier, what I'm seeing is not really there. This is the first point where we begin. And that is not just as an exaggeration. You should be able to get this experience that what I'm seeing is not really there. It can be very gross, it doesn't matter. Once you get there, then from there you keep growing. Say, for example, let's say that, okay, this I is just the conceptual image. This is again, so these are the way we require say fine-tuning the nuances. So here, this is the, say the self is not the image on the conceptual mind. Self is not the image on the, self is the self. Image on the mind is a permanent phenomena. Image of the mind is not the human being. It's not the self. So self is a human being. So this is one thing. Then next one is that, okay, the self is just the image there. So what is really there is the body and mind. If the self is not to be there, even the body's mind is also not to be there. See, nothing's to be there. Just as self is not findable through ultimate analysis, nothing is findable through ultimate analysis. Even the wisdom of emptiness cannot be found through ultimate analysis. If you see that the self is not there, but the body and the mind is there, if this is what you feel, this is one level of emptiness which is very gross, which the Buddha taught. Where the Buddha taught, the self does not exist, but the karmas and the ripening results exist. Karmas meaning your mind, ripening results meaning your body. These two exist. The self doesn't exist. That is when the Buddha is talking about the second level of emptiness, which is very gross one, which is known as emptiness of autonomous substantial reality. Self doesn't exist, but the body but the karma and the ripening results exist. So this is what you are saying. The self is just, the image on the conceptual mind. See, if at all something is there, there's the body and mind, which means that you have a grasping the body and mind exists, but the self doesn't exist. So these are where we need fine-tuning. This is extremely the precious analysis. At the same time, never feel complacent with what you've been studying. Just keep expanding your studies, expand your reflections, and incorporate meditation. 3 things together. And that will really help us. Thank you, Pon King. Very good question. Okay, Ruchida ji.
Geshe, my question goes to when you said that when a meditator is meditating on the emptiness of the mind, and then he realizes that the mind, so there is a mind observing the emptiness of the mind. So the object of meditation has shifted from the emptiness of the mind to the mind. When that shift happens, is it correct to say that we are no longer the meditator is no longer meditating on emptiness, in fact, and has lost the experience of emptiness?
Okay, that is very precise. What you said is very precise. 100% correct. Yes, Ruchitala, thank you. Very good, 100% correct. Shahala?
Thank you very much for the teaching, Geshe.
Welcome.
My question is regarding the meditation on emptiness, for example, the 4 essentials. So the first one is identifying the object of negation. So if we identify or use the object of negation of the lack of autonomous, self-sufficient self, then it is the realization will be that of lack of self-sufficient, autonomous self-sufficient self, right? It's not the Madhyamika view. So you have one methodology, and according to the object of negation, we get the realization.
Yes, that's true. See, what Shala said is that they say for the emptiness analysis of meditation, there are 4 points. The number 1, which is identifying the object of negation. Identify object negation, and identifying object negation, minimum there are 5 layers. I'll say the permanent unitary independent self as the object negation, number 1. Then the autonomous substantial reality as the number 2 object negation. Number 3, external reality. Number 4, emptiness. Number 4, the true existence, while not rejecting objective existence. And then finally, objective existence of the object of negation. 5. Of the 5, when you're identifying the object negation to be negated, if you identify only the first one, not the latter ones, then whatever reasoning that you employ, the maximum, the depth of the experience of emptiness that will come to you is the emptiness of permanent unitary independent self, not subtler than that. And whereas if you identify the object, while identify object negation, if you identify the last one, the subtlest one, the intrinsic reality as the object of negation, then you will negate it by the essential number 2, number 3, number 4, emptiness of the object being one with this parts, emptiness of the object being different from this parts, and the pervasion. Then you are able to see the emptiness in the subtlest form. So for that matter, as Shala said, it's very important for us to not to miss the first point, identify the object of negation correctly. Good.
Geshe, thank you. I have 2 questions, and my first question is on the ultimate analysis. So let's say a follower of Svatantrika Madhyamika and a follower of Prasangika, they both subject truly existent flower to ultimate analysis. They both cannot cannot find truly existent flower, but the emptiness Prasangika gets, its Prasangika follower would get, is more subtle than the emptiness the follower of Svatantrika Madhyamika gets. So as I understand, if I'm correct, the difference is in the ultimate analysis both followers are using. And so my question is, what constitutes the ultimate analysis of Svatantrika Madhyamika school, in Svatantrika Madhyamika school?
Okay, very good question. Thank you, Nishmala. The question is that I say within Madhyamika school, we see that one is Prasangika. In fact, Bodhisattva Shantideva's text is in line with Prasangika philosophy. And below that is Svatantrika Madhyamika. And in terms of the emptiness, between these two schools, there is a difference. Not only difference, they differ in subtlety. Emptiness presented by Prasangika is way subtler as compared to the one presented by Svatantrika Madhyamika. So the question is, where does the difference lie? The difference between the two, because both of them, they think that they're analyzing the true existence to see if true existence exists. And then the Tinjumala is saying that, of course, ultimate analysis, or what Shahala said as identify the object of negation. Object of negation, intrinsic reality or objective reality. If you identify that precisely and you employ these reasons to reject that, you will get the emptiness of objective existence. Whereas if you identify the object of negation to be true existence as the object of negation, true existence, the manner in which Svatantrika Madhyamika identifies by not rejecting objective existence, you just identify that true existence of the object of negation, the manner in which Svatantrika Madhyamika identifies, and then any reasons that you employ will take you to understand this Svatantrika Madhyamika's emptiness and not the Prasangika Madhyamika's emptiness. So this is from the point of view, looking at things from the point of view of the identifying the object of negation, how you identify the object of negation. One. Now what Tinjumala is saying is that, so this object of negation, is one, then the other side is the same, whatever the object of negation you have identified, to see if you have identified the correct object of identification. For that, you employ the mind to look for the true existence. Look for the true existence. So the mind looking for the true existence is known as ultimate analysis. And the ultimate analysis, how the Prasangika defines ultimate analysis, what do you mean by the mind analyzing the ultimate? Or how it is defined by Svatantrika Madhyamika, these two differ. How the Prasangika identifies the ultimate analysis, that is way subtler as compared to how that is defined by the Svatantrika Madhyamika. Then the question is, what is the difference? What's the difference between the positing the mind analyzing the ultimate, the way presented by Prasangika Madhyamika and by Svatantrika Madhyamika? What's the difference? Okay, this is a very important point. And for your information, one thing this could be very helpful is that Svatantrika Madhyamika would say that everything is mentally projected. But Prasangika would say that not only everything is mentally projected, but everything is mere mental projection. Okay, let me say it again. Svatantrika Madhyamika would say that everything is mental projection. They will not say mere mental projection. But Prasangika would say that everything is merely mental projection, mere mental projection. So this word mere is added to the mental projection by the Prasangika. That makes this the ultimate analysis way subtler as compared to those identified by the Svatantrika Madhyamika. So what's the difference there? Okay, let me say like this. Prasangika, for that one is that the that in a way is interesting. Savatantra Madhyamika, the mode of existence of phenomena. When you talk about the mode of existence of phenomena, Savatantra Madhyamika would say that we need something from the object and something from the subject. Two things are required. Something from the object is there. It's not 100% from the object, but something from the object is there. And to analyze that, what is there, something from the object, this is not ultimate analysis. It is still in the conventional analysis. Whereas Prasangika would say that nothing is from the object. The moment you go to see if there's something there from the object, it already becomes ultimate analysis. Okay, now to give you an example, let's say that, okay, where is Dorji? Okay, I'm here. So for Prasangika, that's it. When you say I'm here, that's it. And the moment you see Dorji and still you ask, where is Dorji? Then you are going beyond the conventionality. For Prasangika, this is the conventionality. Okay, where is Dorji? I'm here. This is conventionality. If you cross this, you go into the ultimate analysis. Whereas for Svatantra Madhyamika, because that there should be something from the object. Something from the object, let's say Dorji. What is Dorji? Dorji's mind is Dorji. In the conventional world, we never talk about whether your mind is Dorji or not. These are all discussed by the philosophers, not by the common people. So the mind as Dorji, that is what is brought by the Svatantra Madhyamika, mind as from the object to say that this is Dorji. And the Svatantra Madhyamika will say there's nothing wrong in it. Yes, the mind is Dorji. So to look for what is Dorji, I'm here. This hand is not the mind. This hand is not Dorji. This hand is not the mind. But for Prasangika, this is good enough. This is Dorji, that's it. I'm here. That's perfect. And for Svatantra Madhyamika, still you can ask more questions. Your mind is Dorji. Your body is Dorji. Oh, my mind is Dorji. There's nothing wrong in this. This is still within the domain of the conventional analysis. For Prasangika, this is ultimate analysis. So for Prasangika, the moment you cross the conventional world's acceptance, you already go into the ultimate analysis. Whereas for Svatantra Madhyamika, you cross the conventional board of analysis to see your mind is the self or not. It still is within the domain of the conventional analysis. It is not ultimate analysis. So this difference between what constitutes the ultimate analysis, what constitutes the conventional analysis between the two Madhyamika schools. Okay, this is a little complicated, which we did not really go into depth as of now. Those of us who may get a little lost, don't worry. I may request Tensi Dumala or somebody to remind me to explain the same thing once more. So what I did now will help us to implant some seeds, and then next time we do it again, and then it will give us a vibrant understanding of the difference. Okay, we'll stop here for today. Okay, we'll do the dashing prayer. Screen sharing. All right. Okay. Desha. Okay, we will do the end prayer together. Let us pray that His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the true source of joy and happiness on this earth, that he lives long and that his wishes be fulfilled spontaneously. And also let us direct the merits that's gathered, that all the learning centers of the wisdom of emptiness and bodhicitta, they thrive in the activities of study, reflection, meditation for the good of all the demon sentient beings. May the teaching of bodhicitta and the teaching of wisdom of emptiness soon see the dawn of these two in the minds of each one of us, that you very soon become a reliable guide to lead all beings to the ultimate happiness. May this COVID-19 subsides, disappear from this earth altogether very soon. And those who died due to COVID-19, let's pray that, and those who died otherwise as well, let us pray that they meet with the precious human birth to meet with the dharma, and they eventually become they achieve the state of full enlightenment to benefit all the human sentient beings. And may all those people who are in the hospitals, who are going through acute problems, may they recover as soon as possible to be reunited with their family members, to feel the ease and the meaning of their life. With that in mind, let's recite the verses together. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samadhi too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these rules of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the Buddhas who appeared in the 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May the Supreme Bodhicitta that is not arisen arise and grow, and may that which is arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state. I dedicate the merit thus gathered towards the realization of the decent prayers of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 3 times, and to the upholding of the Dharma of teaching realization. May I in all lives, through the force of this merit, never separate from the 4 wheels of the Mahana vehicle, and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, persevere in the 2 stages. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the Triple Gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart. By the power of practicing and supplicating to you, may all be free from sickness, poverty, and conflicts, and may Dharma and the auspiciousness proliferate in all the places where we abide. The path of union, emptiness, and compassion is loosely explained by the protective Buddha, Dharma, and the beings of the land of snows. With the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso, we supplicate you their wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans and non-humans who hereby merit through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas be truly vanquished through the power of the truth of the 3 jewels. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the stages and the paths, may quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. Throughout my future lifetimes, may always be guided by Manjushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings on dependent origination in particular, even in the course of my life. Okay, let us recite House to the mantra 3 times. Deyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha. Okay, see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Geshe-la.